Welcome back to the Awakened Ones. You know that eerie feeling when your words start materializing in real time, when the patterns you called out months ago are now playing out frame by frame in front of everyone's eyes. Yeah, that's not coincidence. That's confirmation. And right now, while you're watching this, someone somewhere is scrambling because everything you said would happen is happening. Every single prediction, every warning, every read you gave that they laughed at, it's all unfolding like a script. And the wildest part? They're not just noticing anymore. They're watching you, studying you, trying to figure out how you knew. See, there's a difference between being right and being dangerously accurate. You crossed that line a long time ago, and now the same people who called you paranoid, crazy, too sensitive are sitting in the wreckage of consequences you mapped out with surgical precision. They're looking at their crumbling situations and remembering your exact words, the timeline you gave, the outcomes you predicted. And their blood is running cold because nothing, absolutely nothing, is unfolding differently than you said it would. That's not luck. That's not intuition. That's something else entirely. And they're starting to realize you're not someone they can dismiss anymore. You're someone they need to watch very, very carefully. Before we go deeper into this, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now because this information doesn't circulate in normal spaces. This is for the ones who see beyond the surface, the ones who read energy like headlines. If that's you, you know what to do. Drop the number 333 inches the comments. If you've ever predicted something so accurately, it made people uncomfortable. And if this message is hitting different, a like or share keeps this frequency alive for others who need to hear it. Now let's get into what's really happening behind the scenes. Number 1. Your predictions weren't guesses, they were pattern recognition at a level most people never develop. Here's what they don't understand about you. When you said their relationship wouldn't last, you weren't being bitter. You saw the foundational cracks they were plastering over with social media posts. When you said that business venture would collapse, you weren't hating. You recognized the shortcuts, the lack of integrity, the unsustainable model. When you warned them about that person they trusted, you weren't jealous. You detected the energy signature of betrayal weeks before it manifested. You don't predict the future. You read the present so accurately that the future becomes obvious. Most people operate on surface-level observation. They see what's presented, accept the narrative, take things at face value. But you've been trained differently. Through pain, through betrayal, through having to survive situations where reading energy was the difference between safety and destruction. You learned to see beneath masks. You learned to detect incongruence between words and energy. You learned to spot the micro patterns that signal macro collapses. That's not a parlor trick. That's a survival skill that evolved into a superpower. And now, when you speak, you're not sharing opinions. You're delivering intelligence reports from a dimension most people don't have access to. The problem is, when you operate at this level, normal people think you're either psychic or crazy. They can't comprehend that you're simply paying attention to details. They're too distracted or too hopeful to notice. They can't accept that their blind spots are your wide-angle lens. So they dismiss you. They laugh. They call you negative, pessimistic, a hater, until everything you said comes true. Then the laughter stops. The dismissal turns to silence. And the silence turns to something else entirely. Fear. Because if you were right about that, what else are you right about? If you saw through their masks then, what are you seeing now? That's when the shift happens. That's when you go from being the one they ignored to the one they monitor. They start checking your page more than they admit, analyzing your posts for clues, wondering if you're talking about them, trying to decode your words for hidden messages. You've become the person they can't stop thinking about because your accuracy haunts them. Every time something unfolds exactly as you described, it's another confirmation that you see things they can't hide. And that terrifies them because it means they're transparent to you. It means their secrets, their schemes, their true intentions. None of it is safe from your perception. Number 2, they're not just watching you casually anymore. They're studying your every move, trying to stay ahead of what you might expose next. This is where it gets really interesting. You've probably felt it, haven't you? That sensation of being observed even when you're alone. That awareness that your name is being mentioned in conversations you're not part of. That knowing that people are dissecting your social media, your words, your energy, looking for something. You're not paranoid, you're perceptive. Because right now, there are people in panic mode trying to figure out what you know and what you're going to reveal. See, when someone realizes you have the ability to see through them, they enter a state of constant vigilance. They can't relax around your energy anymore, even from a distance. They're analyzing everything you post, wondering if it's a subliminal message aimed at them. They're checking to see who you're connected with, who you're talking to, whether their secrets are traveling through networks back to you. They're losing sleep, wondering if you're 3 steps ahead of their next move, because historically, you have been. This isn't ego. This is the reality of what happens when someone with advanced perception enters someone's life and then steps back. The absence of your voice doesn't mean the absence of your sight. What makes this even more intense is that you're not even trying. You're not plotting, scheming, or obsessing over them. You've moved on. You're building, healing, elevating, but your past accuracy has created a permanent psychological imprint. They remember how you called out things nobody else noticed, how you predicted relationship failures, business collapses, friendship betrayals, and watched it all manifest exactly on schedule. That kind of precision doesn't fade from memory. It embeds itself as a warning system. So now, even though you're living your life, they're treating you like an intelligence threat. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because they know what you're capable of seeing. This creates a bizarre dynamic where you hold power without even engaging. Your silence is louder than most people's words because they're filling that silence with their own paranoia. They're projecting their guilt, their secrets, their fears onto the blank canvas of your absence. And the more they spiral, the more they confirm everything you already knew about them. You don't need to say a word. Their reaction to your existence is the confession. Their obsessive monitoring is the evidence. Their inability to let you go mentally is the proof that you were never the problem. You were the mirror, and mirrors don't lie. Number 3. Every single thing you said would happen is now happening, and it's driving them insane because they can't call it coincidence anymore. Let's talk about the specific predictions that are coming true right now. That relationship you said was built on lies and would implode spectacularly. It's crumbling in real time. Those people you said were using them? Gone, vanished the moment the benefits dried up. That career move you warned was a trap. It's backfiring exactly as you outlined. The financial decisions you questioned, creating the exact problems you forecasted. Person after person, situation after situation, your words are becoming reality with terrifying accuracy. What's really messing with their head is the timeline. You didn't just say these things would happen eventually. You gave specifics. You said by this season, by this phase, when this happens, then that will follow. And it's all lining up. The sequence is matching. The causality is tracking. It's like you handed them a roadmap of their own downfall, and they're watching themselves drive down every road you marked as dangerous. They can't chalk it up to luck anymore. They can't say you were just being negative. The evidence is overwhelming. You were reading a pattern they couldn't see, and now they're living inside the consequences of ignoring that pattern. This is creating a psychological crisis for them, because if you were this accurate about their external situations, what does that mean about the internal things you said? Those character assessments you made, those personality observations, those predictions about who they really are beneath the performance. If you nailed everything else, the logical conclusion is you nailed that too, and that thought is unbearable. It means you saw them, really saw them. Not the version they present to the world, but the authentic operational system running underneath. And being that transparent to another human being, especially one they wronged or dismissed, that's a level of vulnerability that feels like being spiritually naked. The crazy part is, you're not even keeping score. You're not sitting around with a checklist celebrating your accuracy. You've moved on to completely different frequencies, but they're keeping score for you. They're the ones replaying your words. They're the ones making the connections. They're the ones going back through old conversations, old messages, old warnings, and seeing the blueprint of their current reality written in your past observations. You're living rent-free in their consciousness, not because you're trying to, but because accuracy creates permanent residence. Truth doesn't need maintenance. It just sits there, undeniable, waiting to be acknowledged. Number 4, the same people who called you crazy are now treating you like you have some kind of supernatural insight. And they're not wrong. There's been a complete reversal in how you're perceived. Remember when they laughed at your observations? When they told you that you were overthinking, being dramatic, seeing things that weren't there? When they made you feel like your perception was a flaw instead of a gift? All of that has evaporated. Now when you speak, even casually, people lean in. They listen differently. They weigh your words with a seriousness they never gave you before, because they've learned the hard way that dismissing you is expensive. You've become the person people are scared to ignore, not because you're threatening them, but because your track record speaks louder than their doubts. They've watched you call too many things correctly. They've seen too many of your outlandish predictions become mainstream reality. They've witnessed too many people who didn't listen end up exactly where you said they would. So now, even people who don't like you, even people who resent you, they're paying attention. They're treating your words like advance warnings from a source they can't afford to dismiss anymore. You didn't demand this respect. Your accuracy earned it without asking. What's fascinating is how this changes group dynamics. In spaces where you were once the outlier, the skeptic, the one asking uncomfortable questions, you're now the one people glance at when things start going wrong. They're checking your reaction, looking for confirmation, seeking validation that what they're starting to suspect is actually happening. You've become an unofficial barometer for reality in circles that used to exclude you from reality checks. And you didn't campaign for this position. You didn't fight for credibility. Time and pattern fulfillment did the work for you. Truth has a way of defending itself when you stop defending it to people who aren't ready to hear it. But here's where it gets complex. This new attention, this new respect, it comes with strings. People want access to your perception now. They want you to read their situations, warn them about their people, predict their outcomes. They want the gift they mocked when it inconvenienced them, and you have to decide what to do with that. Do you share freely with people who weren't there when you were being called crazy? Do you set boundaries around your energy? Do you charge for insights that cost you so much to develop? This is the phase where you learn that being right doesn't mean being available. Your accuracy is valuable. Protect it accordingly. Number 5. Your life started improving the moment you stopped explaining yourself to people who were determined to misunderstand you. There's a direct correlation between your rise and your silence. The moment you stopped trying to convince people of what you could see, the moment you stopped defending your perception against people committed to denial, the moment you withdrew your energy from fruitless arguments, everything shifted. Opportunities found you. Clarity increased. Mental space expanded. Resources multiplied. It's like the universe was waiting for you to stop casting pearls before those who couldn't recognize value. And the second you did, the floodgates opened. This isn't accidental. This is energetic mathematics. Every moment you spent trying to wake up someone who wanted to stay asleep was energy hemorrhaging from your purpose. Every argument you entertained with someone who had no intention of seeing truth was time stolen from your elevation. Every attempt to prove yourself to people whose identity depended on you being wrong was a leak in your power. The moment you plugged those leaks, the moment you redirected that energy into your own growth, into your own vision, into your own frequency, you became magnetic in ways you'd never experienced before. People, opportunities, synchronicities started appearing because you were finally available to receive them. What you're discovering now is that your gifts were never meant for everyone. Your perception, your accuracy, your ability to read energy and patterns, these were given to you for specific purposes and specific people. The masses who rejected you, they were never your assignment. They were your training ground. They taught you discernment. They showed you who can handle truth and who can't. They revealed that your responsibility isn't to convince anyone of anything. Your responsibility is to honor what you see, speak it when aligned, and let people make their choices. Some will listen, most won't, and both outcomes are perfect for your path. Right now, you're in a phase where the people who actually resonate with your frequency are finding you. The ones who don't need you to prove your accuracy because they recognize it instantly. The ones who don't ask you to dumb down your perception because they operate at similar levels. The ones who don't drain you with doubt because they trust what you see. These are your people. This is your tribe. And they're showing up now because you've finally created the space for them by releasing the ones who never belonged there. You're not losing anything real. You're gaining everything aligned. Number 6. They're watching you now because they're terrified of being your next prediction. And honestly, they should be. Here's the uncomfortable truth they're wrestling with. If you saw through all those other situations, all those other people, all those other facades, then you can definitely see through theirs. If you predicted collapses for others, you can predict theirs too. If you called out patterns that nobody else noticed, you're probably noticing their patterns right now. And that thought is keeping them up at night, because being on your radar when you're in observation mode isn't a comfortable place to be. You don't attack. You don't expose unnecessarily. But you see, and being seen by someone who actually sees is more threatening than being seen by 1,000 people who are blind. This is creating interesting behavior patterns. People who used to move carelessly around you are now moving carefully. People who used to speak loosely are choosing words with precision. People who used to hide things sloppily are upgrading their concealment methods, not because you've threatened anyone, but because your history of accuracy has made you a walking accountability mirror. Your presence, even your digital presence, your name in a conversation, your energy in a space, it raises the stakes. It makes people more conscious of their choices because somewhere in the back of their mind is the question, what would they see if they looked at this situation? And that question is powerful enough to change behavior. The irony is beautiful. The same gift they mocked when it exposed truths they didn't want to face is now the gift they respect when they're hoping it won't turn toward them. They want you to have the perception to warn them about others, but not the perception to see through them. They want access to your accuracy for their protection, but immunity from your accuracy regarding their own shadows. That's not how this works. You don't get to benefit from someone's gifts while simultaneously hoping those gifts don't apply to you. The light that reveals danger to you will also reveal danger in you. And right now, a lot of people are realizing they might not be as hidden as they thought. But here's what they're missing. You're not interested in exposing people for sport. You're not sitting around waiting to call people out. You've moved past that phase of your journey. You use your perception now for protection, for alignment, for discernment about who deserves your energy. The surveillance they fear isn't happening the way they think it is. You're not studying them. You're studying yourself, your growth, your path. They've made themselves subjects of their own paranoia by remembering what you're capable of seeing. The real power isn't that you're watching them. The real power is that they can't stop wondering if you are. So here we are. Everything you predicted is manifesting in real time. The people who doubted you are now documenting your accuracy. The ones who called you crazy are now treating you like you have access to information they don't. Your silence has become more powerful than your words ever were because they're filling it with their own fears and projections. And your life? It's elevating at a pace that makes your old struggles look like ancient history. None of this is coincidence. This is the natural result of someone who chose to honor their perception even when it cost them relationships, comfort, and acceptance. You were never meant to fit into spaces that require you to pretend you don't see what you see. You were never meant to dumb down your awareness, to make others comfortable. You were never meant to question your gift just because others questioned it. You were meant to develop it, refine it, protect it, and use it to navigate a world that operates largely on deception and surface-level understanding. And that's exactly what you've done. Every prediction that comes true is another confirmation that you're not crazy. You're awake. And being awake in a sleeping world will always look strange until the sleepers start having nightmares and realize you were trying to warn them all along. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them analyze your posts and search for hidden meanings. Let them lose sleep trying to figure out what you know. You're not performing anymore. You're not proving anymore. You're simply existing at a frequency that makes unconscious people nervous and conscious people relieved. The right ones will recognize you and come closer. The wrong ones will fear you and keep their distance. Both outcomes serve you perfectly. Your only job now is to keep honoring what you see, keep building what you're meant to build, and keep rising into the version of yourself that makes all these predictions look like child's play compared to what you're capable of now. If this message resonated with everything you've been experiencing, if you felt seen in a way that's rare and real, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel right now, because this frequency doesn't exist in mainstream spaces. We're building a community of people who see beyond the surface and refuse to apologize for it. Drop 333 inches the comments if you've ever predicted something so accurately it made people uncomfortable. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not crazy, they're just awake. And remember, your perception is not a curse. It's your greatest asset. Protect it, honor it, and watch how the world rearranges itself around people who refuse to unsee truth.